Hello. Well, here I am at Tunnel Hill. This is a really cool spot. Really cool. I am standing in water though. Now I've been here to Tunnel Hill, but I've never been past these gates, W and A. You can get tickets down the road over here, just up the hill way back in that direction. There is a welcome center where you can, I believe, purchase tickets to take tours past these gates and come over here and then go on down, presumably, into the next set of gates, which would take you into the tunnel. Okay? So, I don't know where all this water's coming from. It's coming out of the side of the mountain. Looks like it's even coming out of the wall right there. So I really don't know what the situation is here. If it's just coming down from rainwater, if there's a water burst or something. It's coming down way at the end down there too. So I don't know, but I'm not going to worry about that. Yeah, so Tunnel Hill is a pretty incredible spot. It was very unique at the time. I'm going to read you a passage detailing when they opened it, but it's kind of cool. Now they've closed it off to rail. Obviously the railroad does not come through this way again. Just like at Altoona Pass, they've turned this into a historic site and walking trail of sorts, except you just need permission to go through this one. And I believe just on the other side, in this direction, on the other side of this hill, there should be, I know the tracks are right there on the other side of this hill, and I believe there is another tunnel that they have bored through this mountain to get the trains through. So there is another tunnel that is still active, for those who didn't know that. But let me see if I can find a dry spot. I'm gonna walk up the hill a little bit right here and sit on these rocks. How about it? There's no sign that says don't sit, so I'm gonna sit. All right, here we are. Tunnel Hill, Georgia. Got some guests up there, people walking their dogs. It's a beautiful, beautiful area of Georgia, in the mountains, very mountainous, getting very hilly around here. You kind of have to wander through just some older neighborhoods. I don't know how thriving Tunnel Hill is as a town anymore, but I know this historic site probably keeps it going with tourism. So again, when things open back up, head this way, head to all these spots and help keep that tourism alive, because a lot of these little towns, they rely on this to keep them going. All right, so try to do this with there we go, the tunnel behind me. See how I can do it. All right, let me find it here. Here we go. Like many early Southern industrial achievements, the tunnel was constructed in large part with slave labor, drawn from surrounding farms and plantations. Work crews began the hard and dangerous excavation in early 1848, burrowing through the mountain inch by inch at either end, headed for a meeting in the middle. On May 9th, 1850, the 1,447-foot-long tunnel was completed, and the first train was run over the entire 138-mile length of the W&A. So this was the final spot to put together. It's where they connected it. The tunnel was considered one of the greatest engineering marvels of the South, and a grand ceremony was held at Tunnel Hill to commemorate the occasion. A number of dignitaries were in attendance, including John Pendleton King, a former United States Senator, and now president of the Georgia Railroad, and the Iron King, Mark A. Cooper. Does that sound familiar? Earlier today, stopped by Cooper's Furnace, Cooper's Iron Works. He was the chief engineer, chief contractor, chief mason, and chief tunneler on the project. So he had a big hand in this. Called on to give a speech, Cooper lauded the completion of the first connection between the Atlantic Ocean and the Mississippi. "The chain is now complete," he said. A procession marched from east to west through the length of the tunnel. I wonder if I'm on the east side or the west side. I'm a little turned around right now, so I have no idea. To be honest, I thought it was a north-south thing, so I don't know. led by a band of sable musicians who belonged on the work and seemed to have sprung up spontaneously for the purpose. A cannon, forged at Cooper's Works, was muscled to the summit of the mountain, way up there, and 7 salutes fired for the occasion. The tunnel was then dedicated by means of the application of the contents of several bottles of Madeira wine, a bottle of grape brandy, a bottle of port, and a bottle of Georgia wine called Scuppernong. That's some good wine right there. A little sweet, but it's good. The crowning touch was a generous sprinkle of water, said to be from the River Jordan, presented by the Reverend John Jones of Marietta. I'll have to look that one up. A gift from the Reverend Laniu, late missionary to Jerusalem. The water, after being handed around the crowd for the inspection of the curious, was poured out on the rails by the chief engineer. So these rails, well, the rails that were here, were blessed. Jacob Parrott, remember, he's our raider who ends up being the very first recipient of the Medal of Honor, along with many of the other raiders, thought the tunnel presented an ideal place to set up an ambush. With the smoke of our train filling the space, with our party concealed along the sides in the darkness, success would be likely even if they had twice our number. Pittenger wrote, but again, no orders were given to stop and fight. The general pitched on through the darkness, back out into the rain, and on past the trackside village of Tunnel Hill just beyond. Well, I think the village is that direction, so I went that way. Approaching the tunnel behind them, the men aboard the Texas were watchful and wary, if not fearful. I knew it would be dangerous to enter the south end until the raiders had cleared the north end, William Fuller wrote in his account of the pursuit. He was concerned not only about an ambush, but also about obstructions placed on the track in the darkness, certain that the Yankees had reserved some cross ties or other objects to place on the track in the tunnel. Makes sense. Anthony Murphy, for his part, was looking for something else as they rolled closer to the imposing face of the ridge. For a while now, he had thought that the thieves ahead might be running short of wood, as their speed had dropped considerably since the trains passed Dalton. They're slowing down. It occurred to the Irishman that the tunnel would provide a sort of fuel gauge. This is smart. If there were thick black smoke hanging in the tunnel, as typically occurred as a train passed through, that would mean the general had a blazing firebox and plenty of wood. Clear air in the tunnel, on the other hand, would suggest a lack of steam. The Texas crawled forward slowly as it approached the tunnel, when to their satisfaction, Fuller, Murphy, and the others saw the dim gray light of day reflected off the unbroken surface of the rails throughout the length of the tunnel. A bright half-moon speck of light at the tunnel's exit was visible in the darkness far ahead. The road was unbroken and unobstructed. Both the air and the tracks were clear. The engine thieves were running out of fuel and time. The Texas sped out of the tunnel and back into the falling rain as Bracken pulled the throttle wide. "Boys, we've got him now," he cried. It's making me emotional. No, I think I'm just... my eyes are watering. But anyway, so that tells you a little bit about Tunnel Hill. They sped through. They were a little hesitant, a little scared, because after all, this was a tunnel. Not sure what to expect, but Andrews did not have time to stop and try to throw off the Texas, Captain Fuller and the Texas in the tunnel. That might have been a smart thing to do, but he didn't. So yeah, so now from here, they continue on up to and through Ringgold. So I am actually going to go up to Ringgold. That'll be my last stop for the day, I believe. And at Ringgold, though, instead of just posting these videos as I have been, I'm actually going to go live on Facebook. And that way I can answer any questions that you guys might have on the chase. I've been telling this story to school children for almost 20 years, and the chase, the story of the chase. But this is my first time actually coming up the tracks and experiencing some new things. I've read this book, Stealing the General, in full years ago, and then pulled it open off and on and off and on and off and on for, again, almost 20 years. But again, every time I open it, there's new details. So I'll open, or I'll be available for questions. I wouldn't say I'm an absolute expert on this chase, though, so there may be some things I can't answer. But the cool thing is, if I can't, I can direct you to who can. probably this book. So I will see you in Ringgold, and I think that's it.